This is our News You Can Use segment brought to you by Darley with European editor of the Thoroughbred Daily News, Emma Berry. Emma, good morning, good afternoon, I guess, in England. How are you today?
Very well, thanks. A little chilly here. There's snow all over the place, but yeah, it's good to see you all again.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Keeneland November sale, the Phasig Tipton November sale are in the books. The European foal and breeding stock sales are now up and running. There's always plenty of interest in the first foals of the new stallions. Who should we be looking for over there?
Well, we got quite a punchy bunch this year. The sales have started this week in Ireland, and my colleague Brian Sheeran's slaving away on his birthday while I'm hiding away in Newmarket waiting for Tatsel's to begin next week. But we've got, probably the headline horse would be Baaeed, who was Shadwell's great miler of a few years ago. It's hard to believe he's already got foals on the ground, because it seems a minute ago he was racing, but he was a brilliant horse by See the Stars. But there's a whole bunch of horses to look out for. I mean, Mermas has been one of the real sort of runaway stallions here over the last few years. He was leading first season sire. He had a Breeders' Cup winner a week or so ago in Magnum Force, and he's already got sort of a growing number of sons at stud. And we've got Persian Force and Minzal, both with first foals this year. And then there's a couple of young stallions from Darley as well. Perfect Power, who was a Royal Ascot winner, as was Naval Crown, both Group 1 winners for Darley, both quite pretty fast horses, both sprinters. They've already had foals sold this week in Ireland, and they both seem to be starting off well. So there's, as ever, so many to keep tabs on.
I'm going to ask you about two, Emma, because they're really intriguing to me. First off, we're going to go from one end of the spectrum to the other. What about Blackbeard? Because he was just brilliant as a 2-year-old. And then the other spectrum, one of my favorite horses of all time, Stradivarius. What can you tell me about the pair of them?
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, both with their first foals. I haven't actually seen any Blackbeard foals yet, but they are already in the sale ring at Goffs. They'll probably have a bigger bunch there, but there'll be a handful as well over in Newmarket next week. I would expect them to be pretty commercial, because pinhooking is obviously such a big part of the foal sales, and the pinhookers on the whole tend to go for that sort of faster, sort of more precocious type of horse. Stradivarius, as you mentioned, is a really interesting entry, if you like, in this year's sort of flat sires, because so many of the really good stayers here do end up going straight to National Hunt Studs to be jump stallions. And Bjorn Nielsen, who was Stradivarius's owner breeder, was adamant that he wanted him to stand at a flat stud. So he negotiated for him to stand at the National Stud here in Newmarket. He's covered 3-figure books in his first 2 seasons, which is great. I mean, there have been a few jumping mares among those, but a lot of flat mares too. And there are 14 foals selling next week at Tatsel's. So I'm looking forward to seeing those. I actually have one myself as well, who's not for sale, but he is a real favourite. And it's going to be very interesting to see how he gets on as a flat stallion. There is actually, Brian Sheeran made a comment in today's TDN Europe that it would be nice to see a bit more variety among the offspring, among these foals for sale across the distance spectrum, and that's what we will get with Stradivarius. He was at absolutely opposite ends, but he had a real potent turn of foot for a stayer, and I won't be surprised at all if he gets some good flat runners. They'll probably be coming more into their own as 3-year-olds, but he actually won at 2 himself, and it's a really interesting horse. He's by See the Stars as well, who's a top class sire. So, we'll be watching him with great interest, you and me both, I think, Zoe.
Didn't he be bred to the Dam of Economics? That's huge, isn't it?
Yep, La Pomme d'Amour, lovely Panch Celeb mare of Copgrove Hall Stud. She's involved to him at the moment, which is a real thing in the cap of the National Stud to get that mare. And Bjorn Nielsen has supported him very well. There's some nice flat mares that have got, and it's actually interesting looking through the return of mares and seeing some of the breeders who've used him. There's some. They also introduced a bonus scheme for him, so the first 10 juvenile winners, their breeders get a sort of, I think it's £25,000 bonus, and if you breed a Group 1 winner by him from his first 2 crops, there's a £250,000 bonus. So there was some incentives to use him, certainly.
So, Emma, you said you could look outside and see snow. which of course means that the European turf season is over. But there are some opportunities elsewhere, Hong Kong, later Dubai. This Sunday, the Japan Cup, 1.5 miles on turf, 10 trillion yen or whatever the purse is for that thing nowadays. The locals are obviously always really tough to beat in the Japan Cup, but there's some pretty strong European representation this year. Tell us about some of those horses and what do you think the chances are that the Euros can take down the Japanese in their own backyard?
It's going to be a fascinating race. I was just chatting to Alan Carasso, actually, who's going to be getting up at something, or probably staying up, actually. I think it's about 1:40 a.m. On the east coast of America. It's in the morning for us, but I can't wait to see how Auguste Rodin goes. I mean, he's been one of my favourite horses for the last few seasons, and he's off to start straight away after this. The Japanese, although he's obviously Irish trained and been running in Europe, the Japanese feel it's a bit of a homecoming for him because he's by Deep Impact. So I think they're getting very excited about him being there. He's not the only European runner. Goliath, who won the King George, has gone over. He's now owned by John Stewart, Resolute Racing, or majority owned by John, I should say, still trained in France by Francis Graffard. And then also that we have a German runner, last year's German Derby winner, Fantastic Moon. So it's very exciting from our perspective here in Europe to see how all three of those get on. But as ever, the home team, I mean, I heard Naohiro Hirogoda talking this morning on the Nick Luck podcast, saying that he felt the Japanese home defence, if you like, was a bit weaker this year. I mean, last year Japan Cup was the top rated race in the world. And, Equinox won, obviously. And I think the first 5 home were all Japanese classic winners. That's the strength they have in that race. But even though Naohiro seemed to think this year was a little bit weaker, I was looking through the field, and there's still, I think, at least 4 Japanese classic winners in there. So it's not going to be a slam dunk for any of the sort of visiting horses, but it'll be a great race. I'll certainly be getting up very early on Sunday morning to make sure I see it.
The Tenno Show is always a key race there for the Japan Cup, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dojuice, the winner of that, is running, and he's the Japanese Derby winner of a couple of years ago as well. So, there's some proper, just proper horses, as you expect. I mean, it's a brilliant race, and it's always a strong field. But it'll be fantastic to see Auguste Rodin running again, and hopefully going out with a big, big shout before he's off to start in Ireland.
Well, we want to thank Emma Berry for the segment. The News You Can Use is brought to you by Darley. Emma, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for putting up some good information for us.
It's a pleasure.
2 of Darley's young stallions, Perfect Power and Naval Crown, each have their first foals on sale over the next few weeks in Ireland and Britain. A brilliant 2-year-old and a dual Royal Ascot winner, Perfect Power carried his juvenile form through his 3-year-old season, adding the Commonwealth Cup to his Group 1 triumphs in the Pre-Morny and Middle Park Stakes. Naval Crown was also a Group 1 winner at Royal Ascot, one of the fastest sons of Dubois. He won the Platinum Jubilee over 6 furlongs. That's probably one of the best races at Royal Ascot. We'll be right back after this message from Darley.